Welcome once again to Dave Blaze, and he's putting on a performance today because he's actually got two fans, as you can see, when you can see him, uh, one on the left and one on the right, and they're fuzzy monsters from this point of view, but they're not fuzzy monsters, are they?
No, they're not fuzzy monsters. That's my little lion, little stuffed lion that sits on top of the chair behind me there, and he keeps a watch on everything.
Have you
Just
thought of
letting you
getting?
know. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
And Rodney, a lot of big news this week. A lot of big news this week.
Well, I was going to say you've not described what the other fuzzy thing before we get to the news on the other side of you.
Oh, that's an air purifier that I keep going, that I always have running in the office.
Oh, I see. You probably need it. Anyway, it's nice to chat, Dave. And you're right. Everything's happening this week, both sides of the Atlantic. The Donald has gone to China, and I
Yep.
don't know what's gone on there, but I think quite a lot's gone on. I think, frankly, that he's done a deal, a trade deal, apart from other things, on condition. I
Tracking
mean,
other things.
you're in danger, frankly. A, if you're a Christian. B, if you're Falun Gong. And C, if you're Muslim, a Uyghur.
Yeah, the Uyghurs. There are there's problems with the Uyghur. I know. There's human rights violations all over the place, and that's true. And the press wants to lead the left-wing press as well as the far-right press. Frankly, the far-right media, what they call themselves, media, we the media, or truth media, whatever in the world it is. It's always the same story. They're ignoring. They make it like our president kowtows to China, and that is just not the case. You know, think about it like this, Rodney. The GDP of the United States economy is roughly $35 trillion. That's our GDP, $35 trillion. Now, the GDP of the entire European Union as a whole is 23 trillion, round figures. China's GDP is 20 trillion. Now, on a much lower scale, you have Russia at two point something trillion, and Saudi Arabia is at 1 trillion. So the United States economy completely dwarfs these other economies that the left-wing press and the far-right press of We the Media and Truth Media will tell you, oh, look at Xi is setting the table for Trump. Xi's got Trump in a quagmire, whatever the world it is. That is absolute ridiculousness. The president went that, and the other thing is the president brings all of the corporate leaders with no advance notice to the Chinese. He shows up with all of these corporate leaders while Xi is like, oh, we gotta talk. The most important topic is Taiwan. We gotta talk. His economy is gasping for air. It's struggling along. The Chinese economy is hurting, and he tries to set the table with the whole Taiwan talk. And Trump walks in with all these corporate leaders and like, hey, you want to do business or what?
Well, apparently there's a deal to be done on the Hormuz Straits, whereby the president of China can have a word in the ear of Iran saying, come on, we're suffering. America are part of this. What are you going to
Right,
do?
right. So I mean, yeah, China's going to do something with Iran because that's the case. In the meantime, Trump off, we want China to buy oil from us. He can buy oil up in Alaska. He can cruise down to Venezuela. He can cruise on over to Texas or Louisiana. Send the ships there. We'll load them up with oil. No problems. We have plenty. Ain't that
Um,
something?
The other deal is the arms deal, of course. China is supplying Iran with a lot of arms, a lot of rockets.
Yeah. So why do you think the United States, the Trump administration, has this multi-billion-dollar arms deal on the table for Taiwan? So they can talk all they want about, oh, they're supplying Iran with arms and everything. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, you do that. And we're already supplying Japan with more arms than they'll ever need in 1,000 years. And we're going to load up Taiwan as well. So you
It,
go ahead to supply Iran.
well, we know the story. China desperately want Taiwan. And the pundits are saying within 50 years it will be theirs.
Oh, maybe it will. Maybe it will. But for right now, at this moment in time, the the old world order is crumbling and everything is shifting to the United States because it's shifting away from the middle. No longer can OPEC, especially with the defection of the United Arab Emirates, no longer can OPEC control the flow of oil, and they're not the end all now on oil anymore. It's the United States.
Well,
Ain't that
oil
something?
will have its time, maybe another 50 years indeed. But in that time, it is pretty sure that we'll have sorted out the problems of the world with fission. I mean, that is clean, it goes on forever, it is not limited because it just will self perpetuate. Now, if you take that and the fact that the latest computers can now replicate themselves, which is quite frightening, but it's a fact. Will science and technology save us, Dave, or will it destroy us?
I bring you back to the what happened with the invention of dynamite. Wasn't the invention of dynamite and all of that supposed to be good for humanity? Right? Oh, we need a way to get through these rocks so we can build a railroad and expand and all of that. But then there's the downside to it. It tends to, then it becomes used as a weapon. So all of these things are the same way, right? They're initiated as something good, and then because it's brought into a sinful world, all of a sudden everything degenerates. For example, now with new technology that's coming, especially with the emergence of 6G, which is right around the corner. And no, it's not going to fry your brain or turn you into a lizard or anything else. But 6G is coming, and it will allow, for example, one of the things, and we talk about it in a recent issue of George Magazine, where surgeons, let's say a surgeon is in Germany, expert in the field, and you're in the United States needing an operation. That surgeon will be able to holographically, by a holographically be able to operate on you while you're in the United States and he's in Germany through 6G and this emergence of all of this new technology. It's science fiction coming to life. The whole financial system is about to change because of the Clarity Act. Now, Europe is ahead of us on this, right? Europe has already defined, and I'm sure the UK as well, defined cryptocurrency and stable coins and all of that. It's like the United States is like the Wild West with cryptocurrencies, but that's all going to change with the Clarity Act. And then once we're on board and institutions will then be able to invest in stable coins and cryptocurrency, it's going to be a whole different market.
What appeals to me in all this is it will curtail the dominance and greed of the banking system. I mean, they got away with murder in 2008. Countries all gathered around to protect the banks. In other words, we paid for the debacle. And if it does that, I'm for it.
Yeah, but there's a lot more to it in that. There's a lot more to it in that. There wasn't so much the banking system as it was certain institutions that created such a dust up that other nations' banks refused to do business with them. I mean, if you dive into it, Rodney, you're going to get into the world of derivatives and how they're sold and so on. Basically, I'll give the audience just a quick overview. It's like if you have a small box, right? And on the bottom, you put all the junk that no one would ever take just F-rated stuff, right? That all goes on the bottom, right? And you're building it up. And then on the top, you layer these AAA rated mortgages and whatever. So at a cursory glance, the purchasing institution, let's say there's a firm on Wall Street and you're selling it to Barclays, right? In the United Kingdom. So at a cursory look at it, you're going to see, oh, these are top level AAA mortgages. Okay. And the buying institution will pay top dollar. And then all of a sudden they start digging into it and it's just garbage. And this was going on. This started crashing the market, and foreign banks refused to do business with these Wall Street institutions. And that was the underlying problem of the 2008 crisis. So it wasn't a system wide or systemic greed problem. It was certain groups that had to be weeded out, and they were.
I, together with many other people, have received advice from grandparents in our day. And they all say, if you don't understand it, don't do it. Good
Right,
advice.
right,
Well, that
right.
applies to crypto derivatives if ever a thing did.
Right. You're right, because right now, aside from stable coins like the USDC, which stands for the US dollar coin, or the USDT, which is basically the US dollar tethered to this coin. That's what the T stands for. All right. So aside from stable coins, other coins are like, okay, it's basically what people will pay for them. They're not really pegged to anything. The USDC is pegged to the US dollar. Now, as the Clarity Act passes, this will again strengthen the US dollar at the Federal Reserve note. It'll give it even more strength on the market because now it's everything is kind of tied together.
Okay, talking about being in a mess, let's look at
Is that what we're
CIA
talking about?
Director CIA Director John Radcliffe in Cuba. My goodness me,
Right.
they've got no electricity because they've got no oil. It's all carefully planned, isn't it?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by it's carefully planned?
Well, it's clear that the US wants Cuba as well as Venezuela.
Yeah. You know why? Because we don't want China and Russia interfering in our hemisphere.
Well, it's on the doorstep there, isn't it?
Right. Now, the interesting thing is you have the far right, the media and the truth media. They will come out and say, well, Putin he handed the United States Cuba, and he's allowing the United States to move on into Cuba. And that ain't the way it is at all. We have an armada up. We are blocking Russian oil tankers and so forth. And Russia has no money left. I mean, the Russian economy is shot. Putin has basically expended the economy on this foolish, ridiculous war with Ukraine that's now entering 5 years. I mean, they're not going to win, and the Ukrainians are taking the territory back. So anyway, so yeah, what's going on in Cuba is we have a deal on the table. Basically, we'll rescue Cuba and set them up right, but they're coughing up Castro, and Castro will stand trial and be indicted for shooting down U.S. aid ships, planes rather, that were trying to deliver aid to the Cuban people and help them out. And this jackass is firing on them and shooting them down out of the sky. So he's going to stand trial for that. But we'll wind up taking Cuba and helping out the Cuban people.
What's this about talking about Venezuela? Highly enriched uranium. I mean, we're very keen on jumping on Iran for having this or developing it, but it exists
Right.
in Venezuela. Where did that come from?
Well, I'm sure that Iran was playing in Venezuela as well, as we know. So that might just be another place where they were storing their enriched uranium. But oh well, we've got it now. The United States has it now, and they don't. It's funny because we've cut China's oil supply off from Venezuela. We've cut their oil supply off from Iran. We've kicked them out of the Panama Canal, right? They're no longer in the Panama Canal running the ports. So this is all you are watching the dismantling of the old order. That's what's going on right here. And the new one is coming in, and the new one is centered with the United States. And I got to tell you, if the United Kingdom, if they play ball with us on Greenland, I think we can play ball with them on the Falklands.
Trump's
What do you
got
think?
3 years left of his reign. I don't think there's time to do everything, Dave.
There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time, and it looks right now that the Republicans are going to pick up between 10 to 14 seats in the House.
In the midterm.
This is, yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting because of the Supreme. Look, first, look what happened with Virginia. Virginia, first of all, the Democrats in Virginia tried that redistricting map, and that it was voted in, but it was voted in because the language of the bill was completely unconstitutional. Their own Democrat leaning Supreme Court, their own left leaning Supreme Court voted voted it down and said, no, we can't do this redistricting. It's unconstitutional. The Democrat Party then took it to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court wouldn't even hear it. Well, go get out of here with that. It's too ridiculous. So Virginia will not be redistricted. However, all of the other states that have now illegal districts are going to have to redo them to comply with the United States Supreme Court order on districts in the states. So ultimately, the Republicans will pick up anywhere between 12 to 14 seats.
Okay, we've got to draw this to a close, and I'm going to give you a biggie now with all the
Okay.
problems that we've discussed. The real problem, as I see it, is the mainstream media in the US. Now, everywhere I go, I get the left view, but it's very difficult to get the opposite view, the right view, unless I go to individual states and get their local media. Now,
Yeah.
how would you get rid of these giants?
Well, you're not going to get rid of them. The local media is always going to be straight up news because, if it's a local news station, they're going to report on things happening locally where people are, and they'll call right away into the station and go, "Well, that's not happening." Right? So you're going to get that. But when you're talking about 24-hour cable news, that's a different animal. They need to be talking um, attractively and effectively 24 hours a day. And that's tough. That's tough. And you have the same thing with the BBC, right?
Developments at the BBC. Boy, have we got a whistleblower. The guy that's been with them for 13 years on their top programs has blown the whistle, how dishonest they are, how their absolute culture is DEI. You cannot say anything. It's the usual game. You are bullied unless you follow the line. It's not surprising they gave Trump a hard time over the January debacle.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know. The BBC is another one as well. But I wonder, you bring up an interesting point. What is with all these whistleblowers? All of a sudden everybody's a whistleblower. You lose your job at Walmart, you're a whistleblower. Oh, let me tell you all about what they did. They didn't really have to give you this many plastic bags. They could have cut it in half. Yeah, everybody's telling you all the inside there. Do these people think that they're ever going to get another job?
Well, perhaps they've got a conscience. There's a few people like that, Dave.
Ah, come on, they ain't got no conscience. They're looking for a payday, write a book, get some 15 minutes of fame. And would you hire this person now? Let's say you had somebody working for you for 5 years and they quit because you told them they couldn't wear, red socks or some craziness. And they go out there, well, I'm gonna tell everybody what's going on here, and they start a big dust up. Should any other company hire this person?
I would hire them for honesty because
Oh,
it's easy
you
to toe
would
the line.
not.
Yeah, I'm sorry that perhaps that's the European. That's the soft belly of Europe. We're not hard-headed like you lots. Listen, we've run out of time, and I do apologize for the two animals on his left and his right side. Have you thought of seeking medical advice, Dave? Because it's most of off-putting.
You're so funny. Oh, I would hire them for their honesty. Yeah, until they were honest about you.
Well, there you go. No,
Yeah.
I've got a thing about mics because honestly, I am fed up of these bloggers and vloggers who've got this great big woolly mic in front of them. Now, in
Yeah,
some cases, I'd sooner have the woolly mic than see what they're like. But I
I
mean,
know.
when it's behind people, that disturbs me, Dave. It also disturbs me that you've got a lion there. Next time you'll have a witch in a wardrobe. Dave,
No, no. Next time I'll probably have a tiger.
oh, yeah, say no more. We'll see you
All right.
shortly.
Sounds good.